Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of hashtag Ask Jim. Number episode 86. So we've done 86 of these, which is fantastic, and we had a pretty one last week coming in and joining the discussion. I think we got up to 200 views or 200 people watching at one time, which is always welcome.
Your voice is a bit scratchy.
Is it okay? Sorry, got mic. How about now?
No, it goes on and off.
Okay, let me just rip some. 86 of these, which is I think we had a pretty. How about now, Jim? One last one.
That sounds better.
Better? Okay, sorry there. Technical difficulties. Bad mic. Bad mic here. So let's get into bad mic. So I just want to touch on a few things real first though, Jim, because we get asked a bit online is about everyone says what's going to class action, how can they join? Do you maybe want to elaborate on that a bit for people?
Okay, there's two different sections things we're running. First of all, we're running a test which is an appeal directly to the state government under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008, which is basically the idea that the lockdown is unfair, which it obviously is. So we've had a test case go through, somebody's been rejected, we've now arranged for them to appeal to VCAT, which we're paying for. So we're going to run that as a test. If that's successful, we'll put other ones through. If it's not successful, we'll probably appeal it again. So that's one action. And the other action is this class action being run by Carboni lawyers, which is just basically class action against the government for the damage they've done through messing up the quarantine. And
how can people join that? Because that's the one I get a lot online is how can we join this class action? Do they just email them directly or how's the best way to go?
Just go to Carboni lawyers. You can just look it up in the CARBONE lawyers. You can look it up online and just go in there. You want to join the Jim's group. It's basically for any small business, basically, especially tradies.
Yeah. So we've had a few, I know that we've had a few dog wash and grooming franchisees, independent ones asked that as well. So been trying to, trying to give them some angles on that.
The deal isn't quite the same, but you get charged a bit more, but it's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And let's talk about the merch as well. So there's still this merch there, which is the Let Victoria Work, and I got mine during the week. And
I got mine too.
Well. As you can see from Jim, wearing it, it makes you look 10 years younger, so that's another benefit to buy it. So from the I think it's Reignite Democracy Australia, I think is the web page where you can buy the merchandise.
Because they're doing all the distribution and stuff because their office is closed, so they're still doing that. So they're doing pretty good. Not bad shirt. This is from Jim's Signs and Uniforms too. They did a great job, very quickly.
Actually, good quality this one.
They're a bit shaggy though. This is a small one. It's like a tent on me. I don't know what I'm supposed to be if this is small. And what's your size?
It's a large. It's a bit tight.
I do feel I'm wearing a tent actually. I don't know what they do is super small. I find it very hard to get belts to fit.
bit more muscle on you, Jim. A bit more about it.
You think I should be a loud basket like somebody I know?
No. Just do a bit more weight training. A bit more. I know you do a bit in the field with the farm and stuff, but a bit more weight training.
No, I get plenty of strength training. I like to be wiry and tough, not one of these
wiry and tough like a whippet.
Muscle bound hulks. I don't know.
So we've got 107 people watching now, which is fantastic, and we've got a lot of people commenting in. So make sure you leave a comment or question, guys, especially in the Jim's group one, where I'll see it a lot quicker than the other feeds.
I'll tell you what, just if I can put a personal thing in there, we're doing online diplomacy at the moment. It's really fun. I'm actually Turkey and I've been battling it out with the Richard Austrians and Russians who won't talk to me, but it's starting to win with some help from the English and the Germans and the French. So if anybody's interested in that, give me an email, jim@jims.net. It's really quite good. You have like a turn every day or two and then you're frantically negotiating and diploming and people stabbing people in the back and so forth. It's really good. So anybody who wants to be
Turkey, well, a lot of Jim's cleaning groups got a lot of Turkish background franchisors and stuff.
Yeah, well, you get assigned randomly. I wouldn't have chosen Turkey. I'd rather play England actually. It's nice up the top there with lots of fleets and things. But it is a really fun game. Anybody wants to just email me jim@jims.net and get involved. I know there's Brett Kavanagh wants to be the next one too, but we want a few more.
Eric Jurgen says you're late. Did you bring a note? Then we says David. Jim's in breach for being late. And
I wasn't late. I was on time. It took them a while to get the cameras going. I was sitting here for, well, I don't know, 3 minutes maybe.
Zoom's in breach. We'll blame Zoom. And then Eric Jegg says, Joel, love the commitment, but lose the hat. I don't know why he's saying lose the hat. I think the hat's all right. I don't mind
lose the hat? What's wrong with the hat?
I don't know. Put in there what's wrong with the hat, Eric. You've got plenty of hawks.
I got approached by, actually, we've got a lot of signs to these corporate signs. I should have brought one to show you. But they're about 3 foot by 3 foot like that with the same message. But I've actually got in contact with Somebody who's a shuttered business owner. He's really furious about it. He says his business is shut down. Others very similar are still running. Who knows what these regulations mean? So he's going to put one in his window because he can't operate.
Did you see the guy who owns a clothes store in Narre Warren, I think, just opened up and he said he stuffed the fine and they did a big story on him in 7. I don't know if you saw that one at all.
No.
He says he was that destitute. He just said, I don't care. I've got no money. I've got to open up. I've got no money to pay the fine. So he's just opened up. So we'll see what happens. And then here we go. David Gold says, haven't got mine yet, but I'll send you a pic when I get mine. If Joel's is a large, I'll need it XXXL. It's pretty tight, this one. So and it's nice though. It's a good shirt. Then Eric Jurgen says, Joel, you look 10+ years younger. Well, I don't know about that. Then Victoria's got his.
Kelly, about making you look 18.
Apparently, I don't know. I'm getting a bit shaggy. I need a Jim's Mobile hairdresser.
I haven't got much left. My wife cuts whatever there is.
And then we have Victoria's gone here. Thoughts on home dog groomers to mobile dog grooming? We are all contactless from Victoria.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely appalling. I mean, you can go into a salon to get your dog done. There can be 6 people working there, all in close proximity. No danger to health. One person by themselves washing a dog domestically with a client, never people, oh, huge danger to health, can't do that. It's so ludicrous. It's so blatantly political and it's so unfair. I know some of these girls and they're so shattered and desperate. And a couple of them are facing eviction. We've actually offered them to come and stay at the conference centre. There's one lady who might be doing that with her kids. She's a single mother. They're just desperate. Their business has been destroyed and there's no reason for it. There's no contact in anything they do. It's just purely arbitrary bloody mindedness by the government who doesn't need to explain why they make these absurd decisions. And anybody can tell it's just politics. The reason you can have salons is because Andy Reddick gave the Premier the vote in the upper house. So it's an opportunity for him to, presumably, to favour his people, the salons, and crush the independents who are competitors. Nothing to do with health. It's quite the opposite, in fact. If you wanted to be healthy, you'd actually let the independents go and have only one person in the salon, but no way.
What's your take on this Sunday? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts overall with the announcement?
I have no idea what he's going to do. This guy's a law unto himself. If you based it on common sense, you'd get one answer. If you based it on what the Premier is going to do, not a clue. It's outrageous. It really is. I just feel for these poor women. They just don't know what to do. They can't make a living. They can't pay their rent. They're just desperate. I mean, it's going to be suicides. I know they say the suicide rate hasn't gone up, but that's garbage. There's been like a 30% increase in calls to suicide lines. People are overloaded with it. And I've seen myself the desperation that's going on, the sheer misery. I mean, we get people who are depressed in gyms normally, and we're very aware of these issues, but what's been happening is just beyond anything that it's just horrifying.
Well, that comment was made last week, and it did annoy me a bit because that's why I sent you through stuff before this with some other articles online. But the presentations, what I don't say is the presentations to emergency wards are up. The young people doing overdoses, which are cries for help, are up. You've got people staying in emergency wards restrained for a week and sedated because there's no beds available in mental health facilities.
They say suicide's not up. I don't believe it. I think they're fudging the figures. It's like at the other level. You get somebody who's dying of cancer, and this is the case I know about, dying of cancer, goes to the hospital, catches COVID just in his last week of life, dies.
Put down COVID.
Cause of death, COVID.
Yeah.
And the kids say, well, you didn't die of COVID, you died of cancer. Don't you want $25,000? I mean, they push up the COVID and they try and depress everything else. So less people have died in nursing homes this year than they did last year because less infections in general. It's just dreadful what they've done, and it's so arbitrary and so extreme and so irrational, so not based on any form of guidance. The Premier just gets up and says, oh, it's all based on health, expert advice. Be bloated is.
What about
his own experts said, sole operators working alone can do it. That was the Department of Health and Human Services. That was carefully worked out, probably months of work into that. And he just gets up and does it at the press conference and refuses to explain why his reasoning is, except somehow council gardeners can work 3, 4, 5, and they're no danger to health and individuals. It's the same thing with the dog wash people now. It's just maddening. And no end in sight. Who knows when they're going to go back? They might not go back for Christmas. He might say, oh, it's a great opportunity to wipe out this industry. I don't know. You can just do that. They've given him arbitrary power. This guy is evil. I tell you what.
And let's hope this Sunday that they can. The majority of the franchisees, I know there's a lot. Cleaning group's another one. Cleaning group, dog worm.
Well, I hope so too.
Yeah. So let's go. There's a lot of comments and stuff which are coming through. Keep putting your comments and questions, guys, and share. We'll get through them all. So David Donald says Joel needs a haircut or to take his wig off. It's definitely not a wig. Jason Pollock's gone, do you get a pen or a watch with my Diamond Award? So Jason's referring to the Franchisor Award. So he got Diamond, which is really good.
Yeah, we had the diamonds out, actually. That was good. By the way, we set slightly wrong list the first time for those who didn't get it. I missed out some of the goals. But yes, well, actually, what we're thinking of doing is a Hall of Fame, putting it up in the office, all the diamonds.
Yes, that was the plan. Yep.
And mind you, we've only been in the office for a while, so that's a bit by then. But we'll have a website and a few things. That's what we're planning, aren't we? Yeah.
So what I've done on the website, there's a lifetime achievement thing which has got Haydar and Sharon, and we've got the Hall of Fame for the previous people. Yes, we're going to put that in the website. You want it in the office, actually, people's names on the gym's head office wall and stuff, which we were going to do.
It's pretty amazing, you know. We've got about, I think, 15 diamonds this year. Until about 3 years ago, we didn't even know such a thing. We never had a diamond. With that diamond, you have to get 90%, which means you have to be calling virtually all your franchisees weekly, getting back instantaneously, and being seen as very helpful by virtually all of them. It's so difficult to get, and yet more and more franchisors are doing. I'm really proud of the people who are doing this.
I think we're going to do a video as well. I know we talked about doing a video for the diamonds or something like that. They can use it for material and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're going to recognise diamonds this year. The whole thing's been a bit delayed because of COVID, and we couldn't get onto. We still didn't get 90% of franchisees, which we were aiming at. We only got about 85%. But there's some really, really great results. And look, anybody out there who's got one of those, congratulations. A lot of platinums too, which is really good.
And Damien Don says, Jim, by the way, thanks for the call for the chat last week. You didn't call me back, LOL. I've adopted a new philosophy. If something bothers me, I can't change. I just think differently about it. From Dave McDonald.
I can call you back.
Jim always calls everyone back, David, so I'm a bit shocked by that.
I'm a bit surprised. I don't know what that was about.
So Dave McDonald's gone, how did the vote of no confidence go in Parliament? Question mark.
Well, it failed, didn't it? Because it had the numbers.
Yeah. Failed pretty quickly.
It's always going to happen. Labour Party's not going to. If they want to get rid of Andrews, they'll do it themselves. They'll vote him out as leader, which is about over time they did. Maybe if they voted him out, they'd have enough guts to make a fresh start and look at things rationally and properly. I mean, they really brought unnecessary angst on themselves. I wasn't speaking against the government. I was supportive of the restrictions and stuff until they started just crushing our guys for no reason, no health reason, no justification, no studies, nothing to suggest that a sole operator working alone, mowing or dog wash still is any danger. But maybe a new leader will come in and say, well, look, okay, let's do something fresh. Let's actually base our policies on health. What a great idea. Not politics, health.
Also proportionality. I think proportionality is the key as well. Yeah. And then we've got one.
In some ways, the regulations are actually unnecessarily are going to actually increase the risk of infection. For example, the council gardeners. Why is it okay to have 3, 4, 5 council gardeners working together, doing things like doing flower beds or mowing lawns or doing jobs? I mean, I should know. You can have one person working by themselves. Why do you actually have multiple people doing the same job when you don't need to? If you look from a health point of view to say, well, one person alone, whether they're in a dog wash trailer or a dog wash salon, one person alone is really, really safe. Why knock out the ones but encourage the fives? It doesn't make any sense at all if you really based it on health. So hopefully a new leader will come on and say, well, why don't we do something radical? Why don't we base restrictions on the real health benefits rather than just simply on the Premier's whim and his political contacts?
Well, hopefully we're nearly there and we can get through it. Eric Jim's gone, I've got my approval for the new mobile cafe van today. So before Xmas, we will have 2 mobile cafe vans out on the road.
Yeah, so if you're looking at one that was orange-based, and I said, Eric, the black one looks great.
The black looks good. The black looks very smart. Yeah.
If you actually doesn't know that, have a look on our website, gyms.net, and have a look at the mobile cafe. It's a really good looking van design. I love that one with the orange stripes and things.
Then Eric Jurgens has gone, it was defeated 42-20. So that was referenced before. So if you are watching, guys, make sure you share the feed as well. Give it a like or comments. We're getting through a lot of them. COVID Pete's back and has gone, hi, Jim and Joel. Have you had mixed reviews about taking legal action? That's a good question, COVID Pete. Have you had mixed reviews?
Well, overwhelmingly favourable. I mean, I don't know. There's some negatives out there, I suppose. But I mean, some people do say things like, well, it's only got to come out of the taxpayers, but that's true anyway. Any support for people who've been hurt is from the taxpayers. In fact, a lot of people have actually got more money from the government than they're actually they've lost in terms of income. But my point is that this particular compensation we're looking for is for the people who've been hurt the worst, the single sole operators who don't get anything from the government. They've got less than people who've got more money. You know, I'm a multi-millionaire, okay? My conference center shut down. Oh, Jim, here's the money, throw money at you, okay? Great for the multi-millionaires. What about some poor person who's making $2,000 a week washing dogs? Just cut her down. She's a single mother with, you know, about to be evicted from her house. Oh, she's not important. Let's not give any money to her. So it's welfare for the rich, but not for the people who really need it. And all we're suggesting is, why don't we give some of this money to people who really, really deserve it the most?
No, that's a good comment. That's a fair comment, though, Pete. But that's generally the sentiment from the other side, which we see you're taking money from taxpayers. Which, as you can see, Jim's just addressed.
And as I said too, I'm not part of this claim. I'm not asking for any money. I probably lost $500,000 or so, but that's no big deal where I am. I'm not asking for that, but I want something for the people who really can't afford what's been done to them.
Then we got one here as well, which is David McDonald replied, David, yeah, just reading now, maybe we should let the public vote on the vote of no confidence. And we've never have.
Well, the latest thing is that the Premier still seems to have majority support. I don't know why or how people support him, but it is dropping. There's no question at all. People are turning against this thing. That's why we've got to have these hats and stuff go out so people.
Well, I sent a picture of the bus through you. So the same lady who the bus, yeah.
The bus was great.
They got pulled up by the police, and the police were trying to ask them who organised it, and they wouldn't tell them. There's a footage that went around with it. And then Soren Nicholson's gone, we are living in interesting times, not good. The cure can be harder than the pandemic. Jim, can I hear your perspective on your perspective on that?
I think so too. Look, I'm not against a certain level of restriction at all. I think it's reasonable. I certainly don't object to masks and 1.5 metre personal distance, but you've got to be careful. I mean, it's like the government has this attitude is that there's no negative at all in throwing a person out of work. Well, there is a negative, not just financial negative, not just to them, but everybody else they might spend money with, but also with mental health problems too. And the kind of stuff I hear, we're going to have dreadful problems. I reckon the mental health issues coming out, they're going to be more serious and more long lasting than the financial ones. Australia's a pretty rich country. We haven't got very high debt. We can afford to borrow a bit, but we can't afford to throw lives away the way that the government's doing in this particular pandemic.
Well, some modelling done, that one I sent through to you, which is pretty scary for the 5 years by some people moving forward, which will be interesting to see what happens. Then Eric Jones says, I will tell you when you ring up the franchisees so you can have the lead and drive up to you. And then we've got Bree Lancer's gone, fingers crossed all the divisions go back soon. We hope so, Bree. This would be awesome if we can this Sunday. Then Eric Jones gone, Jim, I was very disappointed to find that Sylvia didn't receive a Diamond Award for Mobile Cafe, as I believe she's the best franchisor I've ever had, and I have nothing but high praise for her and everything she has done to me. I don't know what she's done to bribe you there to write.
Eric, you can't get a Diamond Award unless you've got at least 4 franchisees. It's too easy to get 100% when you've only got one person.
Yes,
you have to have at least 4. The best you can do with less than 4 is gold.
There's some weighting to it, and I don't know what she bribed you with that one, Eric, but it must have been good.
She did well. She's good. She's good. And she has given good support. But you need at least 4 of you, Eric. Hopefully by next year there'll be at least 4 who can answer it. And then if she gets it, or whoever the franchisor is, then they'll be able to get a diamond.
Well, they've helped off double the division. So double the division, which is great. Then we have a fam has gone here. So we've got a fam has gone, how's the call centre coping, putting the new staff on for the spring increase?
Well, they're managing it. It's very, very busy. It's really, really busy. We had a bit of slowdown yesterday. That was awful. And they were just really hanging up. And I said to the IT, whatever it costs, bring in people out. So I don't care what it costs. I don't care what it takes to put the whole department, get this problem solved. You cannot have a slowdown like that. Certainly not in spring. It was monstrous. But the leads are coming in very well. I mean, we're not short of work. We never have been.
They're up, aren't they? Compared to they're up. Yeah.
Leads are very, very strong. It's just, if it wasn't for this ridiculous stage 4 lockdown, completely unnecessary, we would be having a brilliant year. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, not personally, sometimes the restrictions are bad, but in terms of work and in terms of franchisees doing well and making money, it would have been so good.
And the Victoria's gone here, how well do you believe in this class action getting up? Or how do you believe in it?
Well, I think the indication that I think it's likely to be successful is that car binding lawyers is very successful at these kinds of actions. They've done a lot of them. They're offering to do it for only 10% of whatever the is paid. And there's a lot of work involved in getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, potentially thousands of people involved in this thing. So I don't think they do it if they weren't pretty confident that they're going to be successful. Because honestly, I think it's pretty clear the government stuffed it up. Who can reasonably argue that the state government and the Premier didn't mess the quarantine? They did. There's no question about it. The genetics is very clear. They've messed things up so badly. And they've hurt people, and people should be compensated. What I'm really hoping for is they'll be able to go to the Premier and other people like the Health Minister personally. I think that would really convey a lesson to people in government that you've got to watch out.
Then Harris Zane student said, how are you, Jim, being an ex-Jim's mowing franchisee from Bayfair, which is great. So Zane Harris has tuned in as an ex-franchisee. Hope you're going well. So David Haley's gone, is there a Jim's workwear and clothing? Question mark.
Yes, there's a new division called Jim's Signs and Uniforms, run by a couple of guys, David and what's the other guy?
Ian. I've been dealing with Ian a bit.
Ian, David and Ian. And they're the ones that did this, which was brilliant actually. I asked them for a job. They gave me a quote, which was significantly better than what I had elsewhere. They appeared in about 4 days. They got it done, and it's good stuff. Doesn't look good on me, but nothing looks good.
It's good quality. But Jim's uniforms will go off, I reckon.
Actually, if you go on the website, which is Reignite Democracy, and have a look at the model there. That's Monica who runs it. Basically, shows it. She's really looks really good on her. Put it that way.
And they're pretty cheap shirts. It's actually pretty cheap. This, so I don't know why. It's not expensive at all. So someone's going, what's the biggest selling item in the gym store? Well, when the gym store was going, it was Monopoly, and then it was probably the bucket hat. If we can start posting items again, we'll take it back online. So we've got to get the Monopolies out there. Then we've got Stavros going, are you going to be the major sponsor for the A-League? So this comes up all the time. You know why this is coming up, Jim? Because online, there's a big social media community of the A-League, and the Hyundai car company gave up the rights the other day. So people are tagging gyms in it to come over, gyms in or KFC. So people are saying...
People have a very exaggerated impression of my power within gyms. I don't control the advertising budget, sorry to say that. I only the regions that I myself own, and even then I get railroaded because usually it's like in the mowing region in Victoria, which we own. The majority of franchisors voted for TV. I think it's a terrible idea, but I get outvoted and I still have to pay. I don't have much power. And the branding fund, which is contributed by individual franchisees, that's spent by the advisory committee, which I don't even vote in. I mean, I chair it, but I don't vote in it. So even if I wanted to support the A-League, I don't think I'd be able to because I'm not the person to convince.
Absolutely. Then Richard Miller's gone here. Are you going to sign Kay Rudd's petition for a royal commission into Rupert Murdoch? I don't know if you saw that much online, Jim, and Kay Rudd's been doing a video which went probably viral about the royal commission into Rupert Murdoch's media.
I haven't heard it, but I tell you what, if it's News Corp, I love News Corp. They've given us better support.
Yeah, sure.
The answer is no. I don't know what it's about. But,
he basically said, because they're running the elections up in Queensland, and all the Murdoch media papers have been basically, hammering Labor up there and, all that sort of stuff. So just saying that they're using their power for wrong and stuff like that.
Well, the press is very partisan these days. It's like in America, you have Fox News, which is basically conservatives, then you have all the rest, which are basically the liberals, and they're both about equal because half the country is conservative. Well, here you've got a very strong liberal, hard left green, which is the ABC. Then you've got the Fairfax papers, which are distinctly on the left. So I think it's probably a pretty good idea that you have somebody who at least tries to represent the other half of the population, instead of everybody only getting their news from the left wing and from stupid conspiracy theories.
We need you on Q&A, Jim. I want to
go on Q&A. I reckon I would love to go on Q&A, and if somebody tried to explain to me why my dog wash people can't work, that really just explain to me. Come on. Everybody knows. Oh, I'm not going to go off that again anyway, but I'd love them to try and argue the case with me on that.
And then Dave McDonald says, Jim, if the news can be broadcast together, how come you and Joel can't broadcast together? This is essentially news.
Well, do we need it? How much difference does it make anyway? I've got a better looking office than he has anyway.
Oh, mine's shocking. I'm trying to put Jim's merch in the background because it's just a plain bed in there, and I couldn't really do too much there. So
I don't know. How do people find it? What do you reckon? Do you think it's better when we went side by side?
I like it better in person. I think it's a bit more. I don't know. There's no technical issues that way and stuff like that sometimes, and it can be a bit more jovial, I guess. But yeah, I guess you could argue it's news.
I can't look sideways and say, "Hey, you're putting a bit of weight."
Well, that's exactly right. Half of your jokes marking my weight. So if you can't sit next to me, you can't do it. So you might have to do it just so you get those jokes back in there. Give it a go. And we've got Joe Marston.
I don't know, Joel. I challenge you to a battle of wits, but I don't believe in fighting an unarmed man.
That's probably true. Then we've got Joe Marston's going, hi Jim and Joel, and then Heather's gone, hi Jim and Joel, because I wanted the dog wash groomers have tuned in for independent ones and some Jim's ones have gone. Joe's gone, we've had lots interested in joining the class action who are not Jim's franchisees.
Yeah.
How can we join in?
Carbone lawyers.
Carbone lawyers.
BONE lawyers.
Yeah.
Put it on the. You've got it on the.
Yeah, I've got Ben. Ben's going to get the details and put the website and stuff in the comments and stuff. So it's Carbone lawyers, Joe.
Carbone lawyers. CARBONE lawyers. If you can't find them, just come to me. I can even shoot you a copy of the agreement. But it's open to anybody. Our guys are getting a particularly good deal in terms of costs, naturally enough, because that's what I use our bargaining power to help our people, as I always would. Yep. But it's still a pretty good deal. It really is, and it's no win, no fee. So yeah.
And Alison Lee's asked the same question, where are we at with it? So it's basically just still being done. So just make sure Carbone lawyers. Ben will put the comments there and details, or email Jim at jims.net and he can forward you through the details for it. We've got Gary Hertog's gone, he can't wait until November, December when my missus gets her mobile cafe franchise up. Thanks, Eric, for all your help. Going to be a Jim's household. So Gary's a mowing franchisee. Now you get the mobile cafe in there.
Wow, that's okay. That's good.
Fantastic. Then we have one here from Kylie Bathman as well. It's gone, I agree. Thanks for sticking up for us small business people. Well, us mum and dad's mobile grooming has been swept under the carpet with no voice.
Yeah, that's right. We've given mowing a voice. I've actually tried to put dog wash forward. When I'm interviewed by Today Show and stuff, they want me in front of a Jim's mowing trailer. I always think, why can't I use a dog wash trailer? Everybody knows about mowing, but dog wash has actually got worse problems now. They've been treated more unfairly, but they won't do it. They always want the mowing because it's...
Yeah, they want the mowing one, yeah. But Jim, you're right. Just to let people know, when these PR opportunities come up, Jim does put Jim's dog wash first.
I always mention dog wash because it's outrageous. I mean, it's so irrational. It's like mowing all over again, but it's continued. And there's no reason for it.
Yeah, and then Rachel Killen's gone, fingers crossed for Sunday, absolutely. And Victoria's gone, support for small beers.
Well, maybe fingers crossed, but I'd love to think that it would happen. That's all.
And then Gary's gone.
So, look, all we can do is keep the pressure on, which is why these kinds of things help, and the media appearances and all the rest of it, and the rude letters I write to the Premier and stuff.
The rude letters. We need to do another one. They're the best. They go. The one you did on your page went berserk. That was reached 150,000 people or something organically in the end, which is unheard of for social media stuff.
Which one was that?
The last one you wrote, which was the media release about the class action.
Oh yeah, well that got a bit of interest.
Yeah, they got a lot of interest. And Gary Hertog's gone, been pulling 12 to 14-hour days ever since lockdown lifted. Had to buy a ride-on to tackle the overgrowth. Now with a torn rotator cuff in the shoulder, I can't wait to go full electric mowing setup as of next week. Thinking that the Palanek gear will be an absolute game changer, Jim. Have you used the Palanek, or is it Palanek gear yet? Palanek. I know that brand.
Stuff. We've been using Echo.
Yeah, the Ego stuff we have, Gary. This might be another brand, I reckon.
Is it Ego? Is it? Sorry.
No, it's called Palanek or something. Pallenc gear.
It's good stuff though. It really is. I mowed lawn on my farm with the AEG one actually, not with the. But it does okay. It's good. I like it.
Very light, isn't it?
It's very light and it's very easy because you just release the handle. Because I got gravel driveways up there, so you want to go across the gravel. You don't want the thing spitting up. Normally with a petrol mower, you have to stop the mower, but all you have to do is release the handle, and it just wheels. And it's very light, and there's no vibration, no noise. I love them. They're great.
Yeah, and poor old Gary's torn a rotator cuff because the grass has been so full on, 12 to 14-hour days because it's just the overgrown. I think he's out in the west out here. Crazy. And then Eric Jim's gone bugger 4. I'm going for at least 6 by this time next year. That's why I watch Jim's live. It's my best source of potential new franchisees. True. All the partners of the others that want a great lifestyle and great income. So Eric's
a lot of people come in through this actually. I know I talk to people often who've seen Q&A, which is great.
Well, Eric's been great to obviously help the division. So it's gone to 2. Hopefully, get more on the road. It helps you guys, doesn't it? The more people on the road in the area.
Yeah. Look, it's good. It's good too because somebody who comes in through us, Jim, is somebody who's done some research. And usually, the more research that somebody does, the better. I was talking to someone today about a franchise, and he said, "Look, I want to go and I want to ring as many of the franchisees as possible, and then I want to go out and spend a couple of days on the road to work it out." I said, "That's great. You've got the right attitude. So this guy's likely to be a big success."
That's fantastic. Then Eric James gone Paul Kirby. Paul's gone bookkeeping leads have been very slow, if any at all, especially during the second lockdown. Are we the only division open in Melbourne that have minimal leads? That's a question from Paul Kirby.
Building inspections is still a bit flat from what I know.
Yeah, buildings. Maybe I know about test and tag. Maybe
test and tag certainly was doing badly. I don't know if they're back now, but yeah, so, some divisions. Most are doing very well actually, apart from the lockdown. It's just those few, unfortunately. Look, I feel for you. There's a lot of divisions we're actually charging half fees to and so forth. So help people through the hard times.
You got a good divisional and Lloyd Paul in the division, so make sure you get onto him. And then Dave McDonald says, Jim, you can't sue the politicians personally. If you do and win, you'll never have another politician. Same reason you can't sue a doctor, sue the government, and taxpayers will foot the bill. It's fair, it's cheaper to compensate than have businesses fall over and people lose their livelihoods. There's a comment from Dave McDonald.
Well, possibly so, but I think, you could use the same argument against the business. I think I said last week, when I owned a factory, I was taken to court because one of my workers was injured. It had nothing to do with it. I didn't know the guy. I didn't had anything to do with the way he operated, but I chose the manager. And so the government held me responsible. Well, if you do a stuff up like what was done with the quarantine, and I had one guy not too badly injured. We're talking about like 500 people dying as a result of this because of idiotic, stupid actions. I think somebody who does that kind of thing should be held responsible.
And you can sue a doctor, I think, for medical negligence. That's what the insurance policy is for. So you can sue doctors. I'm pretty certain you can.
Yeah. So, I think it can be exaggerated actually, but I'm not crazy about medical malpractice, but I think politicians who make really gross errors should be held personally responsible. And
in this situation, yeah. And Eric Jennings gone, great to see that Jim's Mowing and Jim's Cleaning have been sponsoring the Today Show. So Jim's been on the Today Show as a regular probably 3 to 4 times, and now Jim's Mowing and Jim's Cleaning sponsoring the Today Show, which they actually are.
Are we?
Yeah, they're doing TV ads and stuff, and there's a sponsorship thing.
We're actually sponsoring the TV. Oh, good on you. I didn't know that. Was okay. I like to look after them. I've never appreciated the media so much. It's just they've been great. I always chat with them. They get to know me. I had one guy who's come here 3 times. He was a cameraman who came to my place 3 times in like Good Morning Australia, this kind of stuff. And
their own parking spot.
Yes, so it's and they're all great people. I just get on really well with them. I love them. News Corp is great. There's this guy I'm emailing all the time about stories and stuff, Anthony, and we talk to the Channel 7 people. Channel
7's been doing a lot of stuff.
The morning show people.
Today Show, Sunrise.
They got to know me pretty well.
Yeah,
it's good.
Absolutely. Totally, Pete's gone here. So this is a good comment just leading into what you just said then. Regardless of what happens, the publicity for your company has been priceless. You couldn't pay for that kind of advertising from COVID, Pete.
Yes. Yeah. I've been told that actually it's been
wasn't anyone's intention. I can tell you that right now when the first thing happened.
But let me tell you, I would much, 1,000 times rather have this problem not arise. If the Premier hadn't said what he said about shutting down mowing and cleaning, we had none of this. That would have been 1,000 times better. I just hate my guys, people being out of work. It really hurts me. I know some of them are so distressed. I actually asked if some of the dogs people could speak to the media. And Sharon just said, I asked Sharon this morning and she said, look, they're too shattered. They are just destroyed by this. They're not in any fit space to talk to anybody. They're so wrecked. I really worry for these girls. I really do.
But it didn't start out that way either, didn't you? But let's point out the first news stories was the Channel 7 one, which we did at the front at my place. And it didn't start out that way. Let's just make it clear. It's been a progression as we went.
Yeah, it's been quite dramatic how the public mood has changed. It's overwhelmingly in favour.
Then Glenn Walsh has gone, how good was it to see a retail men's clothes shop opening up today in Berwick? Massive fine coming to him. Thoughts, Jim, food shops are open, from Glenn Walsh.
I don't know. Good luck to him. I think there's the irrationality somehow gets to me. Why the bottle shops need to be open. You can have bottles, you can have, you know, alcohol home delivered. Why do you need to have a bottle shop?
Yeah.
It's people going in cheek by jowl. It just makes no sense. I don't know how they decide these things. I'm pretty sure it's just politics. Who's got the most union members who give how much to the Labor Party, or who's holding the balance of power, or this kind of stuff. It's not to do with health. There's no rationality behind it in any way.
And Malcolm Bradley's tuning in. Joe Marsden's gone, yeah, I called them, but no response as of yet. So Joe's saying she's called Carboni lawyers and not had a response from them yet. So keep trying, I guess, or I don't know, what's the direct contact?
If you email me, jim@jims.net, I'll send you the application form, and then you just email it in.
Yeah. Then Eric Jerry's gone, we don't have the same budget as mowing or cleaning, but maybe a mobile cafe can sponsor you two and Jim's every Wednesday night. I think if you send us a shirt or something, Eric, I'll wear your shirt quite happily with the mobile cafe, no problem at all. And you got to send Jim a hot chocolate in a cup.
Send it to me. It gets a bit cold by the time I got to eat it.
Send me a little couple. I don't know, Eric, if you have some t-shirts or something, you'd definitely be glad to wear them, I guess. Don't know to sponsor anything. Soren's gone.
You can do some sort of a giveaway if you like, Eric.
Yeah.
If you want to just give away a
we can do hats and
something like that. Yeah. You know, ask a good question and get a. It'd
be a rare one. It'd be a good one. It'd be a rare Jim's item because there wouldn't be many of them. So it'd be a very rare one and might go off, I reckon. So if you give me some items, we can do that. Then Soren Nicholson's gone, how do you see Jim's group and community in the post-COVID-19 world? Any learning curve to bring forward? Thanks for your reply, from Soren. That's a good question.
We're likely to do very well because the economy won't recover in a big hurry. And we've got plenty of work. And so we're likely to grow. I mean, I never said I'd want this to happen. I really don't want to get the impression, but overall, being in a business that's got stacks and stacks of work is in a good situation to take advantage of people who need jobs. I mean, we could put 1,000 franchisees on in the next 6 months. And we wouldn't run out of work. We've got so much to be done, and we could find more if we needed to. So, yeah, we're learning a lot of things, actually. I don't know about from COVID, but certainly one of the things you've learned is that you can do an awful lot online. It's quite surprising. I run the franchisor training, which we had just last week, and it wasn't bad at all. I think
it's better online, to be honest. I don't know. I think it's more interaction online, I think.
Yeah, it worked surprisingly well. It works a lot better than having some people online and some people in person because everybody's at the same level. So it's surprising. I do miss personal training for franchisees. I like to greet every franchisee, to have a bit of a chat with them, because I know if I've met them, if they have an issue down the track a bit, they're more likely to contact me, which is the hardest thing. Hardest thing is actually, people say it's amazing that I'm so open that I give my phone number and email address to franchisees, but that's not, the problem is not getting overloaded. The problem is not enough actually contact me when they need to. And sometimes somebody will sit on a thing for weeks and then they'll send me an email and I'll say, oh, what is that going on? Bang, and you fix it like that, or you change the system or do something.
Well, they'll tell us on this, on this. Sometimes if franchisees raise problems on this as opposed to other methods. So
yes, well, that does that too, which is one reason I think this is good. But I used to, when there's personal training, I go around and actually sit at the table with as many franchises possible and prospects, and just talk to them and get to know them a little bit.
Well, the feedback I get from franchisors, though, they say the online training was great because obviously we could still keep doing things, but it's never going to be the same. So hopefully, posting
the atmosphere of what we do at Murdoch is really quite special. People can get quite, and they build relationships too. You have people who actually go to the course together and they keep contact, even though they're in different states and stuff, and they have this bonding thing, often between divisions. So it's actually pretty powerful.
They get pretty emotional at the end, though, when they stand up and have to say what they've learned in front of them. We've got some videos online if you want to see that, and they get pretty emotional sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, we have people in tears, actually. They really get quite moved by it.
Because they're happy.
They get the sense of what we're about, which I think you will from watching something like this. But gyms can seem very impersonal at times if you just look at it as this giant monolith. But if you actually have a look at the people inside it and get to know people, it is like a family. It's very much a family feeling. I know that when like in that case where that guy killed his little kids, his little girls in West Australia. It was just shocking to all of us. It was just, people were very emotional, and people didn't even know them directly, which is most of us, of course. So there's that sense that you know, when anything happens within gyms, it hurts everybody. We feel that together. There is that sense of family, and I think the conference center and the training is part of actually bringing that out. So I miss it. I miss that.
Then Rocky Eloise going, I'm getting a full Palanek display at National. We open with demo. So Rocky's back in this, getting a display at National for this, and Gary Hertog's saying the same thing. Got his Palanek brand from France, trialled it the other day. It looks pretty good, expensive but extremely high quality. So apparently it must be that good. It's going to be at National as a display from Rocky, the mowing divisional. So we'll see what it is. Then Brenton's gone, hey Jim, keep up the good work, mate. Wondering if you could sign my Monopoly for me. Cheers.
Sure, yeah, sure. When we get to send it out, I'll just sign things.
Yeah, if you do the order, please let us know that you want it signed so we can get you to sign it for you. No problem.
It's really quite fun. I can't say I like Monopoly very much, but we had a game which was a demo game, but it was really quite fun. Apart from the fact that I got killed on bloody mowing of all things.
Rubbish.
Bankrupted on rubbish. How ironical! And I was doing so well. I had pest control. I had dog wash, and I had what was it? Test and tag, and I had red trailers on each one, and I managed to land on rubbish on mowing, which is green.
Came down to those last spins between you and Ben, so it's a full video on YouTube, that one. Then we got Jim's
mind back. It was fun.
But apparently there's a trick to it. I haven't even looked up the trick yet, so I've made a big mistake apparently. So we'll just see what happens.
Yes, you did. I'm not going to tell you what it was because we'll play again. You didn't realise something. It's a common mistake people make, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I'll have to figure it out. Jim's mowing Bay of Plenty Hawks has gone using 100% Makita battery powered. So there's a lot of people saying they're using battery powered, not the Ego brand, but other brands. And they say it sounds like it's pronounced plank. Apparently, it's a plank.
It's a great idea, and I would hope more and more of our guys are going to go on to this. So many advantages in terms of it's quieter, which is better for you and better for the clients. There's less vibration. There's less maintenance on the equipment. The only thing you've got to do is to charge the batteries. And if you use one of our trailers that are designed for that, you can charge it while you're driving. You don't need that much. It's a terrific system. I really, really like these things.
Yeah, but it's good to see the producers or suppliers are making battery powered now. Like Makita wouldn't have done that years ago, so they're doing it now. And these companies are, and their franchisees giving it a go. So Eric Jones got in, not only the girls, but a lot of the guys also suffer, not only in dog wash, but other divisions as well, I'm sure. Regarding mental health stuff from Eric Jones.
No, you're right too. I just mentioned dog wash because most of them are female, but there's some guys there too. Mind you, the guys are a bit tougher. I know one particular guy's out there washing dogs all through the lockdown. Nobody stopped him. The girls are a bit more. They don't want. They're more scared of being stopped.
Fair enough, though. Fair enough too. And then Sonia's got.
I don't blame them either. It's a different psychology. I think a lot of guys are a bit. I don't know, bolder, more reckless.
We are a bit more. Yeah. Sonia's gone here. Hi, Jim. How do I see? So another question from Sonia Barrett had joined the class action. So Sonia, Carboni Loys is the one. Or you can email Jim at Jim's.net and he'll forward you the documentation you need. And Dave McDonald says, Joel, did you put that guitar there for someone to ask you to play a tune, maybe the Jimbo theme? No, I didn't. I put it there because it's an empty white bed and it looked horrible. It's the only thing I had as well there. So people have put their emails here for Carboni Loys, which is great. And then, okay. Dave McDonald says, Jim, read a joke from the Orange book. So, you know, that orange joke book you have on the shelf, he wants you to read it. Probably not.
Believe me, they are, a lot of them you would not tell in polite company these days. It's quite astonishing how even people like Philip Adams, who's a sort of a, you know, pretty lefty kind of guy. I don't know.
Maybe a later time slot, that one. Maybe a later time slot as well.
Did I tell you the one about the person who went to confession?
I can't remember.
Did I tell you about that one? A guy goes to confession and he says, forgive me, Father. This is Catholic, obviously. I have sinned. And he said, well, my son, what did you do? He said, well, I looked upon my wife. He said, well, that's not a sin. He said, but Father, I looked upon her with lust. And the priest says, well, you know, that's okay. You know, it's within the bounds of marriage. You know, you're allowed to do that kind of thing. As long as it's within marriage, okay. He said, but you don't understand, Father. I just was overcome, and I just bent her over the freezer and just had her on the spot. And And the priest says, but look, I guess it's all right. You're married. And the guy says, oh, that's such a relief. So you're saying it's all right. I won't be banned from the church. And he said, no, you won't be. He said, well, that's a real relief because we're certainly banned from Woolworths.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I like that one. It's a bit on the edge. It's a bit blue, but it's good.
I like blue jokes, actually. I don't know why.
You do. You do have a few. You do have a few blue pearl ones. So put in the comments there, guys, if you like that Jim's joke there, and that's a good one. We'll keep going.
I don't know many jokes though. I've got a list of them. I think I've told them all.
I like that one. That's a good one, Jim. That's a good one. Paul Kirby's going, Jim. What do you think about third-party lead generation to boost leads coming through the FMS system, such as Bark? So he's saying, what do you think about third-party lead generation to boost leads coming through the system?
I don't know what's Bark.
Must be a software. Put in there a bit more about it, Paul, so we know, called Bark, third-party lead generation system. I think, well, if a franchisor wants to use it, then it should be fine.
Well, the way you look at it is you've got a certain amount of money. How can you get the maximum amount of leads?
Correct.
And the general experience is that we do best with the online digital stuff. With things like getting websites that have really got good SEO. So somebody sees the organic listing, things like Facebook, things like Google AdWords, those kind of things too. Generally speaking, in my opinion, is that electronic, like radio, TV, doesn't work nearly as well. But I go through the electronic stuff. That's my view. The other thing too is you've got to bear in mind you can use third-party systems like, for example, High Pages, and you can get leads there. But they're very low quality leads because they're price based. So we prefer to have the kind of a lead where they're not going to ask anybody else, which is why the things I mentioned are significantly better than going in for those kinds of where they try and get you more. Because Jim's isn't likely to be the cheapest. And if you're competing it like and you're winning on price, you're really, what are you with us for? The reason people come to gyms as much as anything else is because they get good work and they can charge more, 10, 20% more than the opposition. So we don't want to be part of those sites that go and grab leads from the public.
The David Don's going, I went to buy a mower, Bunnings and Mitre 10 had 3 petrol and 14 electric between them. The mower shops had no electric and all the petrol. What does that say? Question mark. It's an interesting.
Well, yeah, the mower shops actually make their money from repairs. So they prefer the petrol ones because they break down all the time.
But you also have commercial grade and domestic grade as well, so there'd be different ones there, I guess.
But you can get some pretty cheap petrol ones there too. But this is one of the things about electric mowers. Like electric anything is cheaper. One of the challenges that's going to come if we go to electric cars is a lot of the repairers are going to be out of business because electric motors do not take nearly as much work to maintain them.
Yeah,
it's going to be far less work to be done. They're expensive up front, mostly because of the battery. If the battery came down to a reasonable price, then electric cars would kill petrol because they just go forever.
Well, Mercedes is making a big move finally into electric, which says a lot, I reckon. So
there was an article in New Scientist about this thing called monomers, which is a kind of atomic battery, and it just does it by reorganizing the protons and the neutrons in the nucleus of the atom. And if they could make that work, it's the same thing they use for the Voyager spacecraft.
Right.
But that puts out the wrong kind of radiation. But if you could do it in a way that got the right kind of radiation, they're using that kind of power source, you could have something like 20 times more energy dense than petrol, for example. And then electric would really take off all over the place. Then we'd all go.
Do you buy the whole thing about OPEC buying up all the patents and withholding them all, or what do you?
Oh, I don't believe that. No, for a minute. What we ought to be doing if we're concerned about the future, we ought to be governments ought to be putting a lot more money into basic research, not so much into subsidizing solar panels, but into
R&D stuff. Yeah,
because that is the way ahead. If we had really good battery and storage systems and so forth, really efficient power generations, it'd be fantastic. I'd love it if you could completely go off the grid. How wonderful that would be. You just put solar panels and whatever on your roof. You have a really good battery power and you don't need the grid anymore. What do you need the grid for?
Absolutely. And Cassie Campbell's saying she got the info from her husband's from mowing, which is great. So she's joining in. And Matt Watts has gone, #regions. Matt's interested. So Matt Watts has gone, #regions. Matt's interested. So I think he's just making a comment about he's interested in regions. So I think Matt's got wind that he's been getting speaking about the last 2 weeks that he's interested in buying a Jim's region and how it's a good thing to do.
What? So you're talking about who? Which Matt?
Matt Watts. Matt Watts in the office. He's jumping on saying #regions. Matt's interested.
That's right.
In the public forum.
You better spread it around. It's a funny thing, actually. People who come and work in the office, they quite often end up buying regional franchises. It's a great investment. It really is. We buy them too, actually. I was just talking today to somebody about buying some of their regions back. I just dickering on the price because it's a great investment.
He looks around 20 years younger in his profile picture as well. It's a bit deceptive, Matt Watts one. He's not the best looking fella, Matt, so we'll keep going on. And then we've got David McDonald says, there is no such thing as PC. It's okay to get offended. Nothing happens when you're offended. You're just offended. I'm offended by boy bands, but you don't hear me ringing up saying they're on the telly. This time, yes, this time 4 of them. So regarding the PC joke before. So I don't know what you're taking the PC stuff is, Jim. I know you're pretty straight shooter with stuff, so what do you think about that generation?
I'm not PC or anything. It's just a bit blue, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't like that kind of joke. I don't know why.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we've got Wade Aston tuning in and Cassie Campbell saying she's going to join in, but she's an ex-dog wash. Then Jim's Mobile Tyre says, hi, Jim and Joel. We have a log into the FSO training videos with the franchisors. It was really good and learnt a lot from it. Thanks for creating the content for franchisors. So that's the course I did, Jim, with the franchisors who gave their time, Brett Blair and those sort of blokes.
Yeah, there's some wonderful videos from great people. We've got some fantastic people in gyms. That's the great thing about it. When you've got, I don't know how many franchisors we've got.
300 plus, is it?
Yeah, it's 300 plus. But what you'll find is that some of them are just so good. And you look at what they're doing and say, what are you doing? I learn from people all the time. I learn from the best people like Paul King in mowing, who's incredible results. And he's just actually I can't comprehend what he's doing half the time, but it's really, really successful. And obviously you've got people like Sharon and Haydar and Brett Blair and so many others who've got some really great interviews. You can learn from the best, and you judge the best easily because you can see the franchisees are happy, which is you can see from the franchisee reviews, and because they're growing, which often goes together.
Yeah, we've got lots of good. They've given up a lot of their time, the franchisors, to do them. So please check them out because they're really good, and you'll get a lot out of it because it's related directly to your business. Haydar Hussein's going, g'day, Haydar. He's going, Bark sends the leads to multiple people, so it's not a good idea. So Haydar about that lead generation.
No, I don't like that. I don't like that kind of stuff at all. It's
a race to the bottom.
If you're competing on price, those kind of things are all right, but I don't want to compete on price.
And Chris Dell's going, hey, Jim, are you going to grow a mow for Movember? From Chris Dell.
It'd be completely white.
It would be, wouldn't it? Well, I'd love to do Movember again for us as a head office. I reckon we might try it again next year. I think it was good when the mowing guys did it, when they mowed the world's biggest mustache in at Tullamarine and they pushed a mower up from, I don't know, good publicity. What are your thoughts on the Movember concept, Jim?
I don't know. We'll think about it.
David, and then here we go. David Halley. All right. David Halley says, Jim, please don't say guys are tough. It goes against getting blokes to talk about their mental health. From David Haley as a comment. I don't think you were saying. I think you're saying more blokes are more reluctant to talk about it, probably.
No, I think the point I was making was that when it comes to going back to work in advance of what the official guidelines are, guys less likely to be intimidated. That's the only context. We would encourage any male or female franchisee who's got issues to talk about them and to share. And I think one of the greatest things about this lockdown is, and then there's terrible negatives, but there's positives, is how people have hung together. There's been people volunteering. I like a franchisee who's struggling themselves, said, look, if anybody needs help, I'm here. And raising money for franchisees and then ringing people who are in need and got in trouble. I mean, it's been wonderful, that kind of stuff. People ought to be. I don't believe in the old style macho. I'm too tough. I don't show my feelings. Anybody knows me, I show my feelings all the time. I'm getting angry at the Premier these days, but still. So you got to talk, and relationships are so important. You got to talk to people. You got to open up, and men aren't often good at that. Are often not good at that kind of thing. So I'm not praising the traditional macho. I'm just saying that in this particular context, when it comes to doing things that are perhaps not totally allowed by the lockdown, men tend to be more confident than women. That's just
be more risk takers and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, we've got people like this guy he did dog wash right through the lockdown, and nobody stopped him. But he just said, it's reasonable. I'm not affecting anybody. He just did it. Nobody stopped him. Police never stopped him. Clients never rejected. They were happy to see him. Nobody said anything bad. The man might do that, but in a way that a woman wouldn't. That's all.
I haven't really heard too much about the police. Obviously, every day at the start, they were issuing fines all the time, but I think it's definitely slowed right down. I don't know what you've heard much about that.
Oh, look, all I've heard is that the police morale is the lowest it's ever been, and they just don't like being the bad guys for the community, and they shouldn't be. It's unfair to ask something like that of them. So, and I think they're not enforcing stupid restrictions. That's my impression of what's going on.
Absolutely. Then we got one from Cassie Campbell's gone. Is Jim's ever going to do solar batteries? Jim's ever going to do solar batteries from Cassie Campbell.
You could probably get Jim's Energy to give you batteries.
Yeah,
they'll do that. I'm getting done on my farm actually. I'm having more solar panels put up. I've got some solar panels now. I'm going to put a battery system in so that we can actually go off the grid.
What's the battery system you're using? Is it like which one?
I don't know what it is.
Will you be fully off the grid with that in?
Oh, we'll still stay connected. In actual, we'll probably generate more electricity than we use because I'm not so. But that's okay. I'd like to contribute. If I can contribute some electricity to the grid, even though I don't get paid for it, it helps.
Yeah, you will.
My little bit to help global warming.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the one thing I want to ask you was I don't know if you saw that the guy from the WHO, from the World Health Organization, who advises them or whatever it is, and he says lockdowns are bad and against this whole thing. I don't know if you saw that the other day, that big announcement.
Yeah. I think the trouble is what some people don't recognize is that lockdowns are a trade-off. You trade off resistance to infection against other issues like financial issues, yes, but even more mental health issues. And people just ignoring it. They say, oh, there's no negatives. There's no negatives at all. It's just basically, health versus money. But it's not just money. It's people who are so badly hurting from this thing. So you've got to be careful. You've got to restrict the things that you need to restrict. Like I often say, I miss church badly, but I don't object to it. I don't think it's wrong because group singing, which is what charismatics tend to do, is it's got to give you an infection very easily or spread like anything. So I don't object to that. But somebody who's washing a dog by themselves, not contacting the client, that is crazy. So let's restrict the things that need to be restricted and let's let the economy and people free when you don't need to be restricted. That's my opinion.
Belinda Hadley's a dog washing franchise on Queensland. Her partner's now Jim's mowing franchisee. So we're getting to these multi-people franchise families. So we have to do a story on one. I know there's one in Victoria who's just signed up their son.
Yes, there's three in one family. It's actually not uncommon because somebody goes in and does a great experience, and people look at it, and the spouse looks at it and says, "Wow," and the child looks at it and they just say, "Wow, this is so good. I want to get in this too." Often, a lot of it goes from friends too. Somebody will buy a franchise, and then they'll be talking to their friends who in their previous job. They're doing so well and they're enjoying life and they're not traveling and they're seeing their kids and stuff, and they say, "Oh, we want to come in too."
And a lot of people, when we do a lot of these interviews, a lot of people they've had a mate who recommended to them from years ago, and it takes them, I don't know why, they think the deal's too good to be true, and it takes them a couple of years, and then they do it and they say, "We should do it sooner," which is always the case.
It is a bit scary. I mean, let's face it, going into business is scary, and there's not 100% guarantee of success. We lose something over 10% of our franchisees in the first year, which is a lot. And they don't all fail. Some of them just get offered a great job or they go independent or something like that. But still, there is a failure rate. The only thing I would say about that is that you can't compare that against 100, unless you're going to go into the public service or somewhere where you can't be fired. Any job is risky. You can be fired. You can have COVID come down. You can lose your job. You can be made technologically obsolescent. None of these things happen to our people. None of them's ever lost their job because of COVID or because of technology or anything. So it is a bit scary though. I understand that going into business is scary, and that's what franchising is good for.
Absolutely. And Jim, let's do your book club. We haven't talked about the book this week. So what about book club for this one? What have you been listening to? Another
Peter Fitzsimons one, which is Cook, which is fantastic. I'm just now reading about the actual time he was doing the observations in Tahiti, and just before he went off to discover the east coast of Australia. So that's really fun. And another book I'm reading is about evolutionary basis of health. So looking at why people get certain kinds of illnesses, which are actually based on genes that were helpful in some situations in the past. So that's a fantastic one too.
Just some light reading there, Jim. Just some light casual audio listening.
I love. Actually, I'll tell you what. You gave me a good recommendation. Inside Bill's Brain was great. I liked it. I saw the first episode that was about toilets, but I hadn't seen the other ones which is about polio and about nuclear power. I so much admire. He's a great guy. I really, really admire Bill Gates. He's not only he's a obviously successful businessman, but he's basically giving his money to help millions of people, which is an incredible thing in the most carefully designed scientific way possible, getting people like Warren Buffett to do the same thing. And what really impressed me is the way that he treats his kids. You know, he's actually going to give his kids $10 million each. That's it. That's all they're getting. Enough to do anything they want, but not enough so they'll never have to work. He made a point of driving his kids to school. This is a billionaire. And they do the washing up together as a family in the evening. So he's gone to so much help not to spoil his children. I mean, he's such an admirable guy in every way. I really, really admire him.
When I watched it, I thought of you, and that's why I had to shoot you through an email with the recommendation. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. And did you see a similarity between him and yourself in the way you think? So you see, in the early days, he used to lock himself in a cabin for a week, and he just is that the thinking time?
It's like comparing a mouse with an elephant. Actually, so far beyond me.
No, but the commonality
is so hardworking. He is an amazing guy. I'm nothing like. I couldn't even tie his shoelaces, frankly.
No, I think
I'm often amazed I'm successful in business at all. Really, I am.
But some of the stuff with the reading and stuff, like he'd be reading a lot, and you'd be thinking at the same time.
I'm a bit like that. I like reading serious stuff. I actually prefer that to fiction anyway. It's more fun. Another great one is The Rise and Fall of Alan Bond. That's a really interesting one. That's on
Alan Bond, the old Alan Bond. I haven't heard that name for a while.
Yes, well, I'm just reading. We're halfway through the fall, and it's talking about the victory of the America's Cup and how he did it.
Oh yeah,
what a complete shonk he was, and all the rest of it. Very interesting stuff. I love stories about real people. That's interesting, and I'm not much of a fiction fan.
Yeah, I like non-fiction. I don't like fiction either myself for some reason. I've got one more question, Jim, and which is from Lachlan. He left it last week, and then get to it real quickly, and you can probably answer this one real quick. Hey, Jim, asked this question last week. Just wondering if you would ever consider sponsoring a V8 supercar or AFL or even an NRL team.
No, because two reasons. First of all, because I don't really believe sponsorship is the best way to spend money. I believe digital online is the best way to do it. And secondly, because as I keep on saying, I don't really have any advertising money to spend because I don't control it. People think I'm the dictator of Jews, but in actual fact, our system is, the power is very decentralized.
If Zords wanted to do it, Lachlan, they could. If they voted on it,
they could. And they could even overrule me and make me do it as part of a joint thing. But I hope they don't, because I just don't think it's the best use of our money.
Absolutely. So, guys, we'll leave it there. Let's hope on the 19th we've got some positive news to announce online as well, depending on what happens. We can update everyone. Next week, same again, 7 o'clock Wednesday. Thanks again for your time, Jim. These shirts are from Reignite Democracy Australia. Merchandise.
Yep. Let Victoria work.
Let's hope they get the message.
Bumper stickers too, and there's the cornflute signs as well. So get them out there, get people to using them. I think if we put pressure on the government, the tide is turning. People are turning against these absurd restrictions. So that's what we want.
Absolutely. So we'll leave it there, Jim. Thank you very much, guys, and thanks everyone for the interaction. And Carboni Lawyers as well. Pin the comment. Carboni Lawyers is the one for the class action. Please contact them. So let's leave it there, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay. See you later.
Thanks.